The platform that Fresh and Fit have built is incredible. However...
So she cheated on me 6 times. Why have I seen her ex in her window?
Tax in America started in 1861.
Slavery ended in 1863.
Jesus Christ.
Drop the mic.
And this is actually what annoys me. Everyone's got a podcast, and I feel most of the people that have podcasts are just talking about red pill and the male and female intersexual dynamics. The Fresh and Fit concept, you know Fresh and Fit, don't you? The platform that Fresh and Fit have built is incredible. However, it seems somewhat repetitive. Like, I don't watch them anymore for the simple fact it's like you're just inviting the same bimbos on every show. It's the same questions, it's the same answers, and there's no solutions. It's more of just an attack without exploring and having like comprehensive conversations about how we're going to fix those problems and speaking deeper into why they're happening. Because everyone's talking about what's happening. Men do this and toxic masculinity and you're a her if you do this. Everyone's talking about it on these podcasts, but no one's talking about why it's happening and how we can fix them. It's just like an argument back and forth, and I don't think it's solving anything. That's why I feel like people get really annoyed and don't take it seriously anymore, and they either go to the complete left and they go red pill, masculine, fuck women, and that's where it goes too far. Or they go too far and then they're like, I'm a hoe and I'm too independent. I feel like there's a middle ground, because even the shit that we talk about and a lot of the people talk about on their podcasts and stuff, the whole red pill thing, it is good, but there's a middle ground, and that's where the perfect dynamic lies.
And I feel like we are kind of that perfect dynamic. We're not exactly one or the other.
Sleeping around. That's the biggest thing that the red pill people talk about. Men can sleep around and women can't cheat and you can't be a hoe and da-da-da-da-da. Instead of explaining why. Because I still have these conversations with my girlfriend all the time. Like, why can you sleep around and I can't? Because I said to her before we got together, if you had a history of sleeping around and having casual sex and one night stands, I wouldn't have got with you. Whereas I had a history of sleeping around before I got with her. And she goes, but why could you do it but I'm not allowed? And she was watching a video actually from a woman. There was loads and loads of reasons on why, and it was saying that how it affects women is women have sex, they release oxytocin, and when men have sex they release very, very, very low levels of it. So when she's sleeping around, she releases that oxytocin, and that's a love hormone, but because she's not actually forming a bond with them, she becomes almost jaded. So when she actually gets with someone, it's harder for her to form a connection because sex is no longer valuable to her. She's done that so many times that the love hormone is just like a normal thing. It's not as powerful as it should be. So then when something goes wrong, she's more likely to sleep around because of that. Do you know what I mean? People say men and women are different, and you know there's that whole argument of men can sleep around, women can't. But there's always been the saying of, as a man you're either thinking with this head or that one. Whereas as a woman, they don't have that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because theirs is all interconnected, and usually for a woman to sleep with you, this has to be connected and this has to feel desire. And then once this one and this one feels connected, then she lets this one up. So if she's able to give this up without these two being connected, then this is separate from these. So then when she falls in love, she's more susceptible to cheat, she's more susceptible to not value sex, have casual sex, because she's taken away the connection and the value this has from everything else.
And then at the end of the day, it kind of relates back to man looks for a woman with innocence, woman looks for a man with experience.
Of course. And the thing is, I even had a comment on YouTube that said, it did actually make me think, and it said, although we know it's different for men and women to sleep around, it's also bad for men to sleep around because it forms their habits to then not build stronger connections with females in the future, because it's kind of that thing, like, put it this way, women are the gatekeepers to sex and men are the gatekeepers to relationships. And all these podcasts and everyone's talking about women shouldn't be hoes, you shouldn't sleep around, you shouldn't do this, but at the same time they say we can have multiple women and we can sleep around. So all you're doing is creating that cycle. And again, I understand, because it's only those top 20% of men that are having sex with 100% of the women that are having sex. But if you want that to stop, then you need to stop doing that, because you're only creating that cycle. And if all women in the world said, I'm just going to stop sleeping around, I'm not going to be a hoe, no one night stands, no hoe phases, nothing. I'm only going to have sex and explore that intimacy with a man that I'm actually considering for a relationship, then no man could have hoes. No one could sleep around. Everyone would be cool. Everyone would be in relationships.
There wouldn't be such thing as hoes. And I feel like everything would actually kind of resolve, if that makes sense.
Everything would fix itself.
And obviously you'll have the odd few that kind of do it anyway. But yeah, exactly, they'll all be attached onto that one person. And you wouldn't have that battle between men and women, because...
Men don't want women to be hoes, but then they're going to keep getting hoes and fucking loads of bitches. And then women say to the men that you shouldn't be fucking all these bitches, but then they're going to... So it's just like everything just gets skewed and nothing's getting solved. And it's just literally going to be in this cycle. But as I say, the whole sexual marketplace, it's all women's fault.
No.
That's it. Because the woman is the one who chooses whether you have sex or not.
And I feel like women don't women don't hold themselves accountable for the shit like that. They, as soon as you like apply a problem onto them, saying like, oh, you have sex with too many men, they kind of just get so defensive about it. They don't actually think,
internalize their actions and see how it's actually affecting them.
Exactly. They don't hold themselves accountable. They don't go, oh, actually, maybe you might be right. Okay, because men are naturally better at self-improvement. Because even personally, everything that goes wrong, I always blame it on I feel like you should blame it on yourself. Why is this happening? Hold myself accountable and act upon it. Whereas women, I don't know, they find everything very defensive. You apply a problem onto them, they just go, oh no, like they are.
It's a victim mentality, especially in this day and age. It only promotes victim mentality. So then you've got feminism, you've got victim mentality, feminism, and then you conflate the gender roles. Men can be women, women can be men, and then there's just a whole lack of accountability. Oh, it's the government's fault. Oh, it's the news' fault. Oh, it's the club. It's not my. And it's like, again, women are they don't like to take accountability for anything, or a lot of them don't, and even a lot of men. It's easy for us to sit here and slag women off and say women can't sleep around, women shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
But it's all the men's fault as well.
But
if a man doesn't allow some bitch to cheat or some bitch to be a hoe, and if they stop taking seriously all these dickhead hoes and stop using them, that cycle stops.
Exactly.
No one can sleep around. Everyone can only have sex in relationships. But as I say, it's also down to the women. If they open their legs to a random guy on a one-night stand or this and this, men are virile creatures. We've got a lot of testosterone. We want that. Women say, oh, men are dogs, they have low standards, they'll get with anything. Of course they will. Because not only can we disconnect ourselves, and we don't produce a lot of oxytocin, so we don't actually get connected or have a love, or have feelings when we have sex. We can just completely disconnect ourselves. But a majority of men are watching porn and wanking off every night. So if he gets an opportunity to fuck some pussy, and it might even be some 2 out of 10 pussy, it's a pussy, it's better than his hand, he's not going to then pass up on that opportunity. Whereas women are a lot more selective with who they sleep with. However, when you've got women that are not selective with who they sleep with, then you've got the top 20% of men that are sleeping with them. They turn most of the women hoes, or they go, okay, it's fine for me to sleep around, or they get disconnected from men because they're having casual sex. And then all the good people, all the good guys that want a relationship, that either aren't having sex or that are virgins, they get with all these girls, and then they end up getting fucked over, and then they turn into the bad boys.
Exactly.
And the cycle continues. And so if women were a lot more selective with who they sleep with, and men were a lot more disciplined to be a better man, the whole shit would be perfectly fine.
As soon as you get into a relationship, have that communication, have that foundation of, I want this in my relationship. If you can't respect that, then that's fine. Then, like, as long as you know in a relationship that you'll be fine without them, I feel like that's when the best relationships come.
That's what I'm saying. Everything that happens sexual-wise, the sexual marketplace, women being hoes, no one getting in relationships, people having one-night stands, all that other shit, that's women's fault. Because if you don't open your legs, it can't happen. If you only have sex with a man that's a good man, and you don't have one-night stands or don't sleep around, that stops there. And then if men stop being fucking pussies and stop accepting cheating or disrespect or hoe behaviour, that then stops. It's very, very important to set boundaries in a relationship, because I remember looking at it years ago when I got fucked over in my relationship and I got cheated on or I got treated like a piece of shit. I remember always having this victim mentality. For months I had a mentality of, oh, it was her fault, she was an arsehole, I didn't deserve this, and everyone around me was saying, no, you're such a nice guy, you didn't deserve any of this. And now reflecting upon it years later, everything was my fault.
No, I know, I'm exactly.
And now I'm in the best relationship I could ever be in. Taking accountability for all your actions and how it led up to that makes you a better person. Even if you don't think it was fair. There's a lot of stuff that she done and said that was unfair, and it was down to her character of being a horrible person. But it wouldn't have got to that point if I didn't allow it in the first place. It's so fucking simple. You get guys that sit and complain Or you get guys that go, my girlfriend chucked my Xbox out, my girlfriend broke my Xbox, she burnt all my clothes, and I think that's your fault.
Yeah,
that's your fault. Girls are not that crazy. And they don't get that crazy just like that. They don't go from 0 to 1. For her to start burning your clothes, you have had to test that. She's been able to get away with so much to be able to get to that point. Because girls are not that crazy unless you make them crazy. So if a girl's crazy, and again, unless you're some schizophrenic bitch or whatever the fuck, the reason why girls are out here burning clothes, cussing out their man, hitting him up, disrespecting them, is because the men are allowing it. And as hard as it is to disconnect yourself and say, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore, you being a dickhead, you're stepping out of line, I don't appreciate this, you've got to set those boundaries to respect yourself. And if you don't, you're just prolonging a breakup because you think, oh, I'll fix it.
There's only so much you can tolerate in the past. Like, for example, I've had so many relationships in the past. I was constantly getting fucked over. But again, as you said, I was very victimized of myself. I was like, oh my God, women are thing. And then you look back on it now, I let so much shit slide. So much. Oh no, I don't want to trigger emotion. What if she gets mad? She gets mad at me. Then what? Oh no, I don't want to do that. She'll leave me. And that's where I went wrong.
And it only carries on that cycle of you getting heartbroken until one day you turn around and you go, you know what? I'm not tolerating any of this bullshit anymore. And again, this is why I believe, and this is, people are going to have a disagreement to this to a degree, but this is why I believe a man needs to go for a bit of a hoe phase for him to become a better person in a relationship. Like, my girlfriend always goes, oh, I hated that you went and slept with all those girls before me. And I was like, the reason you love me the way you do, and the reason I'm the man you want, is because I slept around with all those girls. And it's not the act, because again, just going around putting your dick in random girls, it's not fulfilling, you know that.
Yeah, of course.
And it doesn't actually make you, like, you get a bit of an ego boost, but it doesn't actually bring you any fulfillment. But what it does, having the ability to get with girls, chat to them, how to talk to them, dealing with all their shit, then being able to sleep with them, having the ability to, like, know how to operate around a woman, gives you that experience to then know what, because this is it. If a man has 10 different women he has access to all the time forever, do you think he's going to tolerate some shit off some bitch? And when she's being a dickhead, he's going to go, no, babe, no, please don't leave, because I've got 10 more bitches.
Yeah, you got a line of women there. At least one of them's going to respect me the way that you should have. Like. And
because 80% of men either haven't had sex in the past year or are complete virgins, they're the men that are getting all their hearts broken. They're the men that are in relationships that are getting fucked over. And because they've got no experience with women, they aren't able to attract women. They aren't able to have consistent sex. They aren't able to speak to women. Most guys don't get a fucking message back. Most guys don't even speak to a woman or get to have sex with a woman ever. So if they then latch on to some average bitch and they're like, right, I can get some consistent sex, like I'm alright here. Even if she treats him like shit, he has no experience outside of that, and he doesn't know how to get a woman. He doesn't know how to get sex. He doesn't know how. So he puts all his eggs in one basket, and no matter how much she rattles that fucking basket around, he's going, if I lose all of my eggs are there, and I'm fucked. And that's why men end up fucking killing themselves, or men end up so depressed, is because they put all their eggs into one basket and they don't have any experience with women. And when you don't have any experience with women, or it's not necessarily the act of sleeping around that's like promoted, it's the getting to know women better, knowing do you know what I'm saying? Being able to deal with women better, and knowing that you have the ability to get women means that you're going to tolerate less, because men fuck around and get so attached to pussy. Like, we've all been there.
Yeah,
when you're fucking a bitch, when you're having consistent sex with a woman in a relationship, it's very easy to let a lot of stuff slide. When the pussy's good, she had a go at me, but, she sucked my dick and it was cool. Yeah. Instead of being able to go, you know what? No. And if you know you can get, if you know you can get sex, okay, if she walks out, I can get some more. So, don't fuck around. And being able to detach yourself from sex as a man, and having that sexual discipline to know that you're not going to tolerate certain things, and she can't use, because as I say, the only power women have in relationships is their vagina. What's the worst she's going to do to you? Shout at you, get mad, annoyed, block you. What is it actually? She can't hurt you. Only if you let her hurt you.
And if you have the ability to get the other woman, what really kind of how does that actually deteriorate you? You can't, because you can go, okay, well, I'll try again, I know how to get a woman, blah blah, and you keep on going. And I feel like even in my relationship, I was going for a massive hoe phase. I was ridiculous. And then I just, again, I met my girlfriend, and it was like, she's different. I was like, I've had the ability to get all of these women, why does she stand out? And then it kind of, again, I don't really tolerate bullshit, you know.
And from that point, even though you see your girlfriend as different, obviously everyone has their own background and reasons as to why they're the person they are. And there's a lot of dickhead women, and there's also a lot of dickhead men. And for a woman to be broken and sit and sleep around and not value herself and, you know, have all broken relationships and she's just a hoe and all the high body count, she must have had a history of bad men fucking her about. Some dickheads. Most of them do. I think me and you both think, all right, our girlfriend's a good woman. It's exactly what we're looking for. All feminine qualities, no hoe phases, any of this shit.
But it doesn't mean they're perfect.
And all of our exes, we had shit relationships with them, and they were horrible, and we got cheated on or disrespected, and we tolerated so much bullshit. And you do realise that our women would be exactly the same had we still been the same person. Yeah. Yes, we think they're good people and they haven't had hoe phases. But women are very malleable, as in you can sort of morph them to how you want them to be. As a man, you need to find a woman with a good baseline, right? Has she got many body? She's not got a high body count, no hoe phases, no guy friends, right? She's a good woman, right? Keep that. Now it's your responsibility as a man to build on that and to create her into a better person and lead her in the right direction. Because if you're some dickhead, or if you just are a pussy and you tolerate all this bullshit. All women are not crazy. She was only able to get to that point because a man allowed her to. So you'll notice that the type of man you are is indicative of how a woman will act. So you could have a good woman that will be a complete dickhead for one guy, and then that same woman will be an absolute angel for another. And that example alone is exactly the reason why everything that happens in a relationship and the type of woman you're with is completely your fault. So when a man's coming saying, oh, my girl's done this, oh, my girl cheated on me, or my girl's always out at the club, my girlfriend always has fucking guy friends and all this, I think that's your fault.
Yeah,
if you said to her, babe, I don't really appreciate, and you can't get emotional with women because women are emotional creatures, so they're just going to feed off that emotional energy, and you're never ever going to win.
Yeah, you won't win.
You will not win that emotional game. So you've got to play the logical game. And that's where it comes into, if you had a bit of a hoe phase yourself, or you know you've got the ability to get with women, then you're not going to be so emotionally attached to her emotion. So when she gets emotional, you're not going to be so emotionally invested, go, fuck, if I lose her, I'm not going to, oh, fuck. You're going to be able to just detach yourself and think logically. Because if you think and you argue with them emotionally, you're going to lose. That's a woman's game. She's got the emotions on lock. You ain't winning with them. So if you think logically and you tell her and go, look, babe, I don't appreciate you hanging around with these men. You know, if you're going to continue hanging around with these men, I'm just not going to take you serious. You can still carry on fucking a bitch if that's the way she is, you know, or you just cut her off. But if you just go, look, if you're going to continue doing this, I don't appreciate being in the clubs. I think it's disrespectful to me. It's unsafe for you to be in those environments. I can't protect you. And if you've got loads of guy friends, like, I know how guys think, I'm a guy, and so I don't appreciate for you to be hanging around loads of men. If she then says, no, I'm not getting rid of my guy friends, you're toxic, insecure,
You don't trust me.
If you then tolerate that shit, you've just created that cycle. She's just broken the wall of you being able to be disrespected, because women will shame you for expressing what you want in a relationship. Now, not all women. There's a lot of good women. But the ones that will call you toxic or insecure or this and this, toxic, controlling, insecure, gay, all this bullshit, they're the ones you stay the fuck away from, and also the ones that you just use for recreational activities, and then you dip. But because there's such a large contingent, there's 80% of men that are either virgins or not having sex for over a year, the chances are they're not just going to get rid of a bitch when they find someone they are able to have sex with. They're so emotionally attached, they're just like, I don't want to do anything to lose her. And then they play the emotional game. And then you're in her back pocket. And that's where everything starts to go downhill.
Will play on that as well. They will test your emotions, and they will test your masculinity.
Oh, without a doubt. All women push your boundaries and see how far they can take you, and they test your masculinity, because that's a primal incentive to pick the best possible mate. You look at chimps, you look at all these animals. Chimps, they will search and go through a bunch to find the best, the strongest, biggest, strongest alpha male. And that's what women do, innately. And you can't blame them or get emotional and then think they're being malicious and go, it's your fault, and get all this emotion. You've got to be logical, because it's most of what women do is just organic. It's not their fault. They're going to do it anyway. It's your job to be able to decipher how you're going to operate your relationship, what you're going to tolerate, play the game, and keep her in line.
Mm-hmm.
And then if she doesn't abide by what you want in a relationship, and some women will throw all those terms at you: insecure, controlling, toxic, for just saying, look, I don't want you to have guy friends with this. What makes you feel uncomfortable? They're your boundaries. If you compromise your boundaries for her feelings, that is a long, dark road. And you might think, yeah, but I'll get a bit of sex for now. All you're doing is just delaying that breakup. Women are happiest when they're in their most feminine energy. So if she's having to take the more masculine role to make up for a lack of the masculinity that you're providing, you might think it's okay, because you're going to think, well, she's smiling, she's giving me pussy, she's happy. All she's doing is using that power that she's got, because she's got a bit of leverage now. She's happy, she's playing the power. Everyone likes power innately. She's just got the leverage and she's playing that. But eventually, when she goes, hold up, she's not providing any masculinity, I'm not really happy, she might use you for a bit longer and play that power game, but she's going to be on the lookout for the next alpha male. She's gonna be lookout for, like, right, what's the next best
and
thing?
then when she finds that guy that like doesn't let her in at all, that kind of has that masculinity side of goes, oh, she's been testing her boyfriend constantly, and like he's always getting away, and then she goes to one guy, she tries doing it, like, again, she's in the middle of seeking another man, and then all of a sudden he doesn't tolerate any of this shit, and she goes,
she can't play games.
I haven't got the power anymore. I'm gonna test to see how much he's got. And then she'll carry on, and then she'll carry on, and then that's when the attachment issues come in, and then she'll slowly start going, why am I with this guy? Like, this is just boring. I love this. This is exactly something I want. And then she'll just carry on and carry on and carry on, and then when she actually becomes attached, that's when the perfect foundation of a relationship hits, because he was masculine, he was testing her, that's what brung a woman in, and then you build on that.
Well, of course. And obviously, I think people, but specifically women in general, want what they can't have. So if they always know there's a degree of you being able to walk out, if there's a degree, if your girl can look at you and think, he might just be happy if I leave him, she is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
If she knows that you'll righteously walk out, she will righteously stay, because she's thinking, he's happy without me, which means he's content and he's got something that I can have. And as I say, not just people, but women primarily always want what they can't have. So it doesn't mean don't love your girl. It doesn't mean don't tell her you love her or treat her nice. Do all those things, but have boundaries, so when she tries to test them, she can't get through. And there's two options in her head. She can either leave and go find the next man, or she's just going to get a bit emotional. You can deal with that. Don't be emotional to her. Stick to your boundaries, and she's going to stay. But a lot of men will just simp to that emotion, and then they don't know how to operate it. Like, I think that's why Andrew Tate is so massive, is because of that mentality he's pushing of, it's all your fault and it's your responsibility. The second you start to take responsibility and accountability for your actions, that's when you start to tolerate less shit, and you're having healthier relationships with women. Because you physically can't have a negative relationship with someone if you don't tolerate the negatives they're putting out. If someone puts a negative and you go, I'm not dealing with that, you either change or you leave. The two options.
Yeah, exactly.
Either change or leave. So either they change it and now they're a positive influence in your life, or they leave and you don't go and you delay, you don't have that breakup, or you don't have that heartbreak, or you don't have that shit toxic relationship. It's very quite simple. If the energy you put out is the energy you attract. So if you have this sort of, I sort of like to think of it as like a bubble. You have this bubble, and that's your energy. This is all your energy that you want in your life, and this is all your friendships. This is your own mental sanity and everything. Every relationship you have in your life is within this bubble. Now, if you allow a woman to come in and start trying to pop that bubble and start trying to fucking get at it, and you don't say, yo, you either stop popping the bubble, bitch, or you're fucking out. You either get the fuck out the bubble or you stop popping it. She's got two options. She's going to go, all right, I'm going to carry on doing it. And then if she knows, right, I can't get away with this, she's going to have to leave that bubble, and then you've got this nice protect sort of thing around you. Or she's just going to stop it, and she's going to join the bubble, and she's going to be happy and keep that energy good and positive. But it's when you allow it to happen, that's when you're just going to you're just going to be in a cycle forever, because she's just going to be popping that bubble forever until it either pops or until you go and you pop. And the only way to learn is through being more stringent on your boundaries and protecting. That's all it is, really. It's just protecting your energy. Because you're going to learn the hard way. And I feel like most men have to learn the hard way. You have to be the nice guy to learn to be the fuck. We all go through phases, or a majority of men never get there. And they end up in this cycle of just getting their heart broken or latching onto some average bitch that, you know, whatever. But if you're able to take all that shit, take accountability for your own actions, learn to talk to women, learn to get with women, it doesn't even mean you have to sleep around.
Yeah.
But if you just hone and curate those abilities to be able to get women to deal with their emotions, to know what they want, know what they don't like, then you're going to be in such a far better position to have healthier relationships with people.
I think it comes down to 3 things in a relationship. Well, as growing as a man, I should say. There's accountability, responsibility, and experience. So the responsibility you have of yourself, you need to be responsible of your boundaries, of what you set, what you allow, and then the accountability side of
anything that happens or goes wrong, it's my fault.
Goes wrong, you need that accountability of going, right, that's my fault. What am I doing wrong? Why am I allowing this? And then the experience of, what if I did allow this? What if this has gone wrong in the past? Like, you need to have those.
You need to be heartbroken to be able to have healthy relationships. That's the end 100%. Of it, really. There's no way you're going to grow up, and a lot of this is why I'm saying men have the fantasy, and we all have it. Everyone has a fantasy, men and women, of growing up. You find a high school sweetheart, and you fall in love, and then you're happy forever. Very, very few people get to experience that, but most people get their fucking heart broken. And as teenagers, everyone gets their heart broken. But it's how you deal with that determines the relationships you'll have in the future. Because otherwise, you'll just continue on that cycle of dealing with these toxic relationships, having this idealistic view, and you've got to be realistic with the world. And if you have this idealistic view of like, oh, this fairy tale image, everything should be perfect, you just end up getting fucked over continuously until you begin to look at, like, if you play the emotional game as a man, that's when you lose. Because that's where women thrive. In their emotions. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that as a man you should ignore your emotions. You should experience them. You should fully understand why you're feeling them, and then understand and think, how am I going to use them to my advantage? So you have to process your emotions and think logically as to how am I going to combat what she's doing. Is it malicious? Is she testing me? But a lot of men go too far on this red pill side, and then they just go, it's all the women's fault, when they don't sit to reflect in the mirror and go, maybe it's my fault. Because a lot of what the women are doing is just as a reflection of her man.
Yeah.
A woman is a reflection of her man. If you see a good woman, you go, she's probably got a good man, or she's had good men around her, she's had a good fatherly figure. Whereas if you've got some toxic, insecure, cheating, like, you go, fucking hell, that's who you're with. It's guaranteed, because you're a bitch. It's just common sense. No man who's got his life in order or who's got his boundaries is going to be with some crazy bitch, because you won't accept it.
Yeah.
It's only the guys who don't have that experience or that tolerate it that end up with those crazy hoes. So as we discussed earlier, when a bitch, or when a female, we probably should say that, but you know, when a girl starts burning your clothes or destroying your Xbox and talking to your guy friends behind your back, and you're sitting and crying and getting emotional about it, it's completely your fault. You're a pussy. Get your shit together and set boundaries, or don't, because it's not her fault that she's done all that. You can say, yeah, I didn't deserve it,
brother. You allowed it.
You kept on, and that cycle continued, and she pushed to your absolute limits. She crushed you. That's why you have to be happy and content as yourself. If you're only happy when your girlfriend's with you, or when your girlfriend's happy, you end up pouring from an empty glass. And then when you're not happy, who do you look for that emotional fulfillment? Who do you crave? You crave her. So what if she's not happy? Then you play this miserable game, and you do absolutely everything to try and make her happy. Women's happiness is how they feel. It changes every fucking hour. They live day to day based on how they feel. Men are completely different. We have like a set amount of things. If we're peaceful and we're taken care of and everything's good, then we're like, right, we're happy. Whereas women's happiness literally changes day to day. So if you can't keep up with that, and if you play their game, you're going to end up losing, and to a point where, what I'm saying is, if she knows you'll righteously leave, she'll righteously stay. Most women will not leave you if they know you're not crushed. And that's harsh, and it's not even their fault. It's not malicious. That's just how they need to do. They can't connect themselves to a new man if they haven't disconnected with this one. So if you're a genuine, really nice guy, she's not just going to leave you. And you've set boundaries, and she can't push you and make you bitch you up. she's not going to leave you because she can't move on to another one. So she's either going to just stay with you forever, or she's going to try and test you to try and disconnect, to try the next best thing. Whereas if you're the next best thing in her eyes and she can't push you over the edge, and she knows that, fuck, he's just not going to tolerate it. And if he leaves, he's going to be happy. She's going to do everything in her power to stay and make you happy.
And I feel like a lot of women cannot live without a man. They need a man to support them, and like, because whenever a woman's not in a relationship, I don't feel like she constantly stays outside of a relationship and like works on herself unless they've been fucked over in the past. Unless someone's disconnected them, that's when they go, oh shit, I've got no one to latch onto anymore, I'm going to work on myself, and then they're finally latch onto another man. As you were saying about like she won't just leave unless she has someone else to leech onto. But if you don't allow her to leech onto someone else, you won't have to worry about
if she's fucking
her
someone behind her back.
Yeah.
If she's, going to leave me, you won't have to worry about that, because women are going to do what they're going to do. You can't control that, but what you can do and what you can control is what you allow. And if you don't allow something that you don't like, it's not going to continue. It's very, very simple. And I understand why, because I was in that position once before. It's easy for us to say this now that we've been heartbroken and learnt over the years and all this shit, and now you've slept around, now you know you're good with women, that okay, right, I'm set. I was in that position once too. I was like, as a man, you know when what she's doing is fucked. Like, you can sit there and go, I know she's not treating me right, and I know I deserve better. And the only thing that keeps you there is that you have no one else to go to. And you're so emotionally invested that you put all your eggs into one basket. Your happiness is predicated completely on whether she's happy or whether she's there or not. And you have nothing going for you. Or even if you did have everything going for you, you compromised all of it to just put it into her. And yes, that's a good thing. Make your woman happy, keep a good relationship. But how women are happy is based on women feed off of you for the attention and the emotional validation and everything. So once she's sucked everything out of you, you've got nothing left. And so you're so scared to lay down boundaries or to not allow being treated like shit because you don't want to lose that woman. Whereas if you keep your sense of self, it's going to be really, really hard for a woman to fuck you over. I know how hard it can be for most men because I was most men.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
I was for a very long time. For a very, very, very long time. Like Lizzie, for example. I let her cheat on me 6 times. I allowed that. I allowed that.
Wait, whoa, we're getting into that, G. Hold up.
Right, yeah. So she cheated on me 6 times, and I allowed it.
And I bet you still sat there and was like, why is she doing it? She's such a horrible person. I don't deserve this. I deserve so much better.
And this genuinely was. It was like, for me, it was my first, like, she was fucking, like, she is hot. Like, even a lot of people tell me now, like, she's a really good looking woman. Does that mean she's good looking on the inside? No. And it's because
you attached yourself to that superficial beauty, and because you was like, all right, I don't want to let this go now because I might not get another good woman.
Yeah.
But if you know you can get good women, you're like, fuck this bitch.
This is the best woman I've ever had. Like, I can't. And then she would just constantly be attacking me. Like, she'd allow so much shit. She'd set up motives. She'd be like, oh yeah, come around mine. Like, there was one example. She was like, oh, come around mine for like 8 o'clock in the afternoon. You can stay at mine. You know, we'll have drinks. You know, blah blah. And then I started leaving. I was on my way. And then literally I got into the second bus on the way to hers already. This bitch goes, oh no, sorry, I can't do it today. I'm still at my nan's. Bitch, I still turned up at her house. Why have I seen her ex in her window? Her and her ex. And I was like, nah. So I went back. And then I went like this. And she was like,
went back, bruv. You didn't put a brick for the window. What are you doing?
As I said, I was very shocked in that moment. I was like,
even though that's like, it's not her ex's fault, because like, men were just going to try and get some pussy, bruv. I'm putting a brick through the window, and then I'm putting a brick in both of their heads, bruv.
That's what I'm saying. I wasn't very masculine in that situation. I wasn't experienced enough. I never held myself accountability. So then I got, obviously I went home, blah, blah, and then I confronted her about it.
In person or on a text?
Huh? Obviously on a text. I didn't do it in person.
So you messaged her saying...
Yeah, and then she was like, no, he only come round for a minute. It was just like, and basically the thing was, it's like, he's a baby dad, so it's like...
She had a kid?
Yeah, she had a kid.
Blood. That was step 1. You should have known then. Getting with a bitch that had a kid, taking her serious, blood. What the fuck is you doing?
It was like the first pre-go I had. I was like, oh my god. And yeah, that was another time she cheated on me. And it wasn't till, and then obviously so much shit. She was
Wait, no, you sure? I'm sure baby dad probably just came round, have a little chat. What do you mean?
Yeah. Like,
Definitely didn't cheat, man.
That's what I'm saying. That she would always blame it on that. Oh no, he just come around to see the kid for a bit.
And I guarantee you either was naive to believe it, or you knew that there was something going on, but you didn't want to say because you thought I'd lose her.
Yeah, that's what it was. I didn't want to lose her, and I was like, no. Hopefully, if I confront her, she won't do it again. Right, yeah. And then it was just like, I was just like, okay, right, allow it. Maybe she didn't have sex with him.
Maybe he only stuck the tip in. Just maybe.
Yeah, just maybe.
Next time he won't come inside her.
It's ridiculous. It was like even when I look back on like past relationship, it's just fucking ridiculous. Like one time, she just said that she was staying at home. She's going to bed. She was like, I'm going to bed now. And then it wasn't until someone goes, oh yeah, I just see Lily in the club. I go, the fuck? And then I was just like constantly like I was trying to message her. I was getting aired, blah blah. And I was like, I can't. Like I just need to like let's not think about this. And I kind of distracted myself, went on to something else. Just kind of I couldn't think about it at the moment. And then it was about 4 a.m. FaceTime. She's drunk. She's naked. She's just on FaceTime, just completely naked, topless. Like that was her going, oh, he's caught me out.
Let me try and reel him back in because I know I can.
Let me reel back in. Oh yeah, look at my body, it's amazing.
I guarantee you was like, oh my god.
And I was like, again, I tolerated so much shit.
Yeah.
So much shit.
What was the breaking point for that relationship then?
The breaking point
because I have a feeling, being that I was in a relationship like that too, and I tolerated so much, and at the time I said, oh, it's really, really toxic, and oh, she's a horrible person, when I just was a pussy, and I allowed her to be a dickhead for all those years. I feel like she was the one that broke it off with you.
Yeah, she was actually.
Yeah, so.
But it was.
So how did that? What was the breaking point in your relationship, and how did you get to that point? Like, what happened for her to break it off? Whatever. Go.
The breaking point was one of her friends, and it got to one point, and she was like, "Look," she was like, "I kind of feel sorry for you at this point, but like, she is sleeping around. She's like probably at least had sex with 6 different men since."
Whilst you was in a relationship with her.
Yeah, while I was in a relationship with her. In that moment, I was like, I couldn't believe it, and then I remember I just went off. I got so angry. I don't know. I just flipped out on her and like laid it all on her, all in one. But because I already let her attach to another man, she went, "It's fine. I can let you go. I've got other people to fall back
Did you
on."
start shouting at her and get really angry? And
Yeah,
irate?
it was like I let all my emotions.
And shall I
out
tell you,
and
I know that's exactly. It's so crazy because I went through the exact same thing. I tolerated it for so long. I'd always have arguments and shout and everything. But if she's fucking everyone else and she doesn't respect you, she's always gonna stay there because like you're like the person to fall back on. Even though you're her boyfriend, she was cheating on you. And she can just fuck it. All you are to her is just the guy that she can play with and disrespect. Just, I'll play with him.
Yeah.
Then I go with who I want. For a woman to move on, she needs a reason to break up with you. So she needs to either make sure that you're fucking broken and heartbroken and that you won't be happy without her, or she needs to rile you up. That's what she did. She riled you up to a point that when you exploded, now you've given her emotion and she can feed off that. And she used all that emotion and went, oh, you're so angry and I can't be with this. And so it gave her a reason to then disconnect. Had you never done that, had you said to her, you know what, you've cheated on me loads of times, I've heard about it, I just think that I think I deserve more than this, goodbye. Didn't even respond ever again. She would think about you for the rest of her life.
Do you know the funniest part? She messaged me about a year on later. She just broke up with her new man and she was just like, I'm so sorry for how I treated you. Like,
I got the same fucking message from my ex.
And this is always when you do better. She finds that you're doing better. Like, I was always out. I was like kind of constantly working. I was always about. I was getting more popular. Like,
she saw that you was thriving without her.
Yeah. Literally.
And then she thought, I want a bit of that.
Yeah. And then she come back. She was like, I'm so sorry. That message still undelivered to this day.
Gee.
Hold that. Nah, but yeah, it's just experience. And even then, even after, there was still loads of stuff I'd still tolerated.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy because literally within all my relationships, every single, except the relationship obviously I'm in now, every single one of my exes, whether it be a month later or 2 years later, have apologised to me and said how I was the best thing that ever happened to them. I treated you like shit. You never deserved it. I'm sorry, this, that and the other. So they all felt remorseful towards me, but they all treated me like shit.
I can always guarantee it's because they've attached themselves onto a man that doesn't respect them the way you did. They doesn't.
No. It was, I treated them nicely, but I was too nice. And that's the problem where guys go wrong. If you're too nice, you'll get walked all over. And it's not just by women. This is by people in general. If you're too much of a bitch for your man, he's going to take advantage of you. If a man is too much of a bitch for his woman, she's going to take advantage of him and walk all over him. It's just human nature. So it's never wrong to be nice, but it is wrong to be too nice. You have to be
100%.
good. You need to be a respectful, good man, not a nice guy. The nice guys get fucked over. And some guys go too far and then they end up being a dickhead and lying and cheating because they was once a nice guy. The reason why nice guys turn into dickheads is because their ex cheated on them with a dickhead. So they went through this heartbreak and spiral and turned it into the very thing they swore to never be or swore to destroy. And girls don't like dickheads. They don't. But there's qualities of a dickhead they're interested in and that they're just innately attracted to. Being, they can't control him. He has loads of options, so he's attractive. Other women are attracted to him, so therefore she's attracted. He's not going to tolerate your shit. There's always an element of, I can't fully get him. And so she always wants that next guy. And unfortunately, a lot of those guys tend to just be arseholes or cheaters or liars or, whatever. Playboys. Why do you think girls are attracted to drug dealers and all this? Because they're not, there's no predictability. They're always moving about. They're always got different girls and they're not settling. And
he probably doesn't reply for about 4 hours.
There's always something for her to chase. And so as a man, I wouldn't recommend being a dickhead, but you also can't be a nice guy. So it's finding that middle ground. You can be a respectful man with all those qualities of not tolerating shit, but you can be a gentleman. That's where I feel the whole red pill was like been tainted and trivialized now, because now men are thinking, oh, I've got to be a dickhead and cheat and sleep around and I've got to do this to be able to... No. You can be a respectful man and loyal and not sleep around, and just as long as you have your boundaries, and if she disrespects any of your boundaries, then you walk away, no matter how you feel towards her. Don't ever get emotional with her. Just be a decent, respectful man, and you'll have a good, healthy relationship. But men just either are too soft or they go too the other way. And then what you end up doing as a man as well is, if you're a dickhead, you end up breeding dickhead women. Because you end up getting with a woman, it's literally just like a cycle. The nice guy is too much of a pussy, so his ex then gets with some dickhead, then he gets heartbroken, then eventually turns into a dickhead, goes too far, then he starts getting with the girls that are naive and that were good women, and then he fucks them over and cheats, so then they turn into dickheads, and then they get with nice guys, and then she ends up, and it's just a cycle and it continues. So if as a man you have boundaries and you don't accept certain things and you're happy by yourself, then you cannot tolerate dickheads, because what you allow is what will continue. If you don't allow her to be a dickhead or have bad behaviour or hoe tendencies or anything, it cannot happen. And then if she doesn't allow people to just fucking use her as a cum dumpster, for lack of a better term, and she doesn't sleep around, and she values her commodity, which is her sexuality and her innocence and her purity, because every man wants that, and if no man can get it and she values that and just gives it to a man that is worthy of it, then you're going to see a lot of better, more healthier relationships. But as I say, that cycle continues unless men start putting boundaries and not allowing women to disrespect them, and women start respecting themselves and stop allowing men to use you. You're more than just your vagina, but if you just keep sleeping around, that's all a man's going to see you as. I've always said to women, I don't just want pussy unless that's all you've got. Now, if you prove yourself to be bigger than that, then I'm not going to just use you for pussy, because I want all the other good qualities of you. It's just common sense. But if all you give me is pussy, and then you say, treat me really nice, or I'm leaving, and then you still give me pussy, why am I going to stay? Yeah. Why am I going to give you everything else if you're not warranting it? Like, you only get what you deserve at the end of the day. And when you start taking accountability, whether it's as a female or a man, and you truly start taking accountability for your actions and saying, he cheated on me, but why? But how did it get to that point? Because you wouldn't have got with a man that was a cheat in the first place. The reason why you got with him is because you saw potential in him. If you knew he was a cheater and he was cheating on you from the very beginning, you wouldn't have carried on the relationship. Let's say let's say you're a woman. As a woman, you're in a relationship and your boyfriend cheats on you 6 months in. Yes, he might be a dickhead or a coward or whatever. Yes, he lied and cheated and went behind your back, whatever. I'm not condoning that. But what I am saying is, for those 6 months, or for a large contingent of that relationship, he was a good man. That's why you got with him, because you thought he was a good man and worthy of a relationship. Now he's a dickhead. Instead of just completely saying he's a dickhead, it was all his fault, oh, poor me, reflect on it. And I say the same to men too. This is not just to women. Reflect on it. Why did she act like that, or why did he act like that? There must have been something either I allowed or something I tolerated, or he then felt it was permissible to cheat.
Yeah.
Now again, you might have been the absolute best woman in the world and he still fucked you over. But if you reflect on yourself and you're very confident within your strengths and your weaknesses, you're gonna be very, very proficient in gatekeeping what can happen and what won't happen, and you'll be genuinely just more happier in relationships instead of just taking the victim mentality, because all that does is continue the cycle of you being a victim. It's the same as if you have bad luck and you say, oh, I'm so unlucky, oh, I'm so keep talking about it. So all you're going to do is attract more bad luck. So if you hang around with dickhead people, you might not be a dickhead yourself, but you're going to end up getting in some dickhead shit. And you're going to end up getting in trouble or being an idiot, because that's just the people you're around. That's the energy you're receiving. And if you know you've got a good head on your shoulders and you've got a good heart, instead of being a pushover and letting people take advantage of your heart, don't go then too far and then turn cold and then not allow anyone in. Just be like the gatekeeper. Imagine you're at the gate. Imagine your heart's here and you're standing on the edge of the gate. Because what many men do is they put all their eggs in one basket, and many men are what their heart says. They don't use their head, or they find it hard to separate. So if you use your brain as almost the gatekeeper to your heart, then your heart feels love and you want to be loved. But if your brain is standing at the gate and she's being a dickhead and your heart's going, I know I shouldn't be treated, I don't deserve this, then you can have the conscious and the logic to be able to what you allow and what will continue. You're being a dickhead, close the gate. Can't get in now. And when you're being nice and sweet and loving, I'll open the gate. Here you go, come in. And then you're going to have a healthy relationship. Instead of just allowing it and allowing it and allowing it and then being heartbroken, then playing the victim and using that heartbreak to go, no, it wasn't my fault, and give me sympathy. That cycle is going to continue forever. There's got to be a breaking point where you put your foot down and go, I'm not having it anymore. And by having the ability to get with loads of women, and it doesn't mean I'm not promoting having to sleep around, but if you do sleep around as a man, or even just having the ability to talk to loads of women,
and having that attraction to women,
having women be attracted to you, and knowing that you can get them, it gives you an abundance mindset, whereas your leverage point is a lot higher. So you won't tolerate disrespect or bullshit from a woman, and you won't get so emotionally attached to the sex she's given you, because you'll go, I can get sex anywhere. So it's not special at all unless she's providing other good qualities, and I'm not going to tolerate the bad. So you keep the good, push out the bad. And I recommend women do the fucking same. Don't tolerate shit from a man. If you are just getting fucked around and he's just sleeping with you, and you're like, I want a relationship, and all these men just keep using me for sex, stop giving away sex.
Quite literally.
Then he can't fucking fuck you over. And if you still think, well, no man are attracted to me, maybe you're just an ugly bitch. I don't know. I'm fortunate for you, you got shit genetics, not my problem. But there's still a man out there for you. There's still a man that's going to treat you well. There's still a man that's going to take you seriously. But you've got to really genuinely reflect on, what do I provide for a relationship? Ask your partner, what do you want? That is so crazy how we all go through relationships purporting what we feel what they should be, but we don't actually sit down and ask our partners, what do you want? What makes you happy? How do you feel comfortable in this relationship? And have that conversation, open and honestly.
That's why I feel like my relationship now has worked so much, because we have that conversation all the time. What's always the next step? And every week, literally, we'll end up communicating.
Do you have it like once a week where you just have a conversation about what you like, or reflect on the week's things or problems? Or
it's like not exactly once a week, because it's not exactly.
No, of course, but just like habitually, it's something you do on a regular basis.
Feeling like there's always a next step in the relationship. If we just keep taking it one step at a time, we're just getting higher and higher and higher and higher.
And acknowledging every single little misstep. Because it's almost like a relationship is like stairs. You just keep walking up and up and up. And if you accidentally trip up a step, if you then just go, oh, don't worry about it, but just keep walking up the steps, you're going to eventually trip up another step, then another, and then eventually you're going to fall the fuck back down the stairs. So if you acknowledge and go, why did I trip up that step? Oh, because I was rushing, I wasn't paying attention. Oh, my laces were untied. No. And equate that to like problems in a relationship, or why something happened. Why did we argue over that? Was it you wrong, or was I wrong? Okay. Then you're going to, once you start to correct those steps, you can eventually just start walking. and you can walk both together. Otherwise, you're going to end up just eventually tripping over more steps than you walk up.
And
then you're at the bottom and you're fucked.
And it is, honestly, it's one of the best things I'd advise for a relationship.
Despite having boundaries in a relationship, it's very important to talk about stuff when it goes wrong. Because I don't tolerate certain things in my relationship, but there's still things that me and my girlfriend will argue about, or she'll get upset about, or I'll go, no, I don't like. And it's not big enough for a disrespect. I'm like leaving her because she disrespected me. It's just little things, but those little things will build up to resentment or disrespect. So if you talk about those little arguments, or you reflect on it the next day, or don't go to bed on a bad fucking note, and you go, babe, you know what, a lot of people forget that in a relationship, that's your partner. It's not your fucking enemy. You're committing yourself to someone. It's not your enemy. As long as you both set boundaries of what you will and will not tolerate, then all the little mishaps and arguments and shit in between, you should be able to sit there and rationalise and go, it's us versus the problem, not me against you. And then if you begin to work at all those little things, your relationship will not only flourish, but you'll grow together instead of apart. That's why relationships break up, because one person grows and the other person is back here. And then she goes, I want a new man. Or he goes, fuck this bitch. It's because they're growing apart. You need to grow. If you're growing together instead of growing apart at the same time, every time there's a little problem, it's right, babe, I'll help you. Let's go up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And as long as no one fucks that foundation up and ruins the whole boundaries or cheats or disrespects that person, there's nothing that can go wrong. You'll have a healthy relationship. Hold up. Do you want to carry on from that, or?
Just take a little break.
Yeah, just take a little quick break. You used to smoke all the time, so did George.
Yeah.
But I've never smoked. What is it like smoking weed? Like, what's the side effects? How does it actually make you feel? And like, how does it affect your actions and the way you act, the way you are?
Honestly, now I've given up. I can see exactly.
In hindsight, you can see the benefits.
Right. This is a negative and a positive.
Pros and cons of weed. Go.
Yeah. So the pros, you'd constantly, you're chill, you enjoy absolutely everything. You're on just a different wave. And also, if you're going through like depressive times, it gives you that short-term relief.
And it allows you to zone out of your current reality, because you're just zoning into a different sort of like state.
Yeah. It kind of just blocks it out temporarily. It just kind of goes and you're happy. But the happiness is also a negative, because you are happy. You don't progress. You don't go on to the next level. And I feel like that is a very big thing with weed. Like, for example, now I've given up.
It's also a facade of happiness. It's not like when you're happy and you enjoy a nice meal with your girlfriend, or you go out and have a laugh with your boys. It's just like a dopamine hit of like, you're happy now, but you don't know why. So it's just sort of like playing this state of like, oh, I feel chilled. But then as soon as you're not high anymore, now you don't know where you are.
And it'll always make you lazy. It'll make you lazy but happy.
But yeah, saying that, so what you were saying about the negatives as well, go.
So you wouldn't make that progress. Like, now I've given up. I want to start gym. I want to do so many more things. Whereas when I was high, I was like,
you felt complacent sitting where you was.
I can't be arsed. I'll lay in bed.
It's not like it makes you unhappy because you're not achieving anything, because it takes away the motivation to do that in the first place. Because when you're high, it doesn't make you motivated anymore, and you're just content, and you're actually happy where you are. But then when you're not high anymore,
that's the problem.
That's when you go, oh fuck, like I need to get my shit sorted. I'm lazy. I'm not doing anything. But then you go, smoke again. No, I'm good now. So it's that constant cycle. It's breaking that cycle to then really sit there and deep, like, yo, how the fuck it affects you. Because it's not just like your time that you're consuming, it's your fucking money as well you're spending on it, and it's your energy, everything.
It's so much. Like, even then, like, I spent 2 years nearly every day smoking weed, all day, morning to night, just every day. Wake up, morning to.
You used to smoke like 3 spliffs a day, bro.
Bruv, more than that, way more.
I don't know, bruv. I was
maybe three suits when I'm with you and George.
Yeah, bro.
At least. No, it was insane amount. Like,
why do you think you was doing it for so long, but not because
I was bored? It sounds stupid, but I wouldn't find anything to do in my spare time. I would be on the Xbox. I'd get bored of the Xbox. I'd be on there for about an hour. Oh, fuck it, I'll roll another zoot. Cool, roll another zoot. And then it hits you, and you're like so lazy. You lay down, lay in bed, like eyes barely open, just scrolling through TikTok.
It just puts you in a constant docile state.
Yeah.
When you were smoking, in the times that you're not high, how does that feel? Or was you just high most of the time?
That's the thing. I was literally high all the time, basically, because I would constantly smoke. If I wasn't high, I'd roll another zoot and smoke it.
Yeah.
Like, I've had times where I've literally smoked a zoot, I'd sit down and go, not high enough, I'll roll another one. and then the tolerance gets higher, and it's like
Yeah,
a
because then the
constant
more
cycle.
you smoke, the more you get accustomed to that level of
intake.
So then that's where you feel like the threshold is. That's the threshold goes higher, because that's where you feel like, okay, this is where I need to be now, because I feel more content here.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you just made it a discipline, I don't think I'm not saying it's a bad thing to. It is a bad thing to smoke weed, but if you was like, right, one zoot every couple of days, I guarantee you'll get more. Like if you stick to that.
Yeah.
Like I just deeped it. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Everything can be bad if it's too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like within moderation, everything within moderation is okay. It's when you start to take it to the extremes, or you overdose. You can overdose on fucking oxygen. You can overdose on water. You can overdose if you get too addicted to sex. It's bad. But then no sex is bad. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Too much
So it's the same with anything. If you go to the gym too much, you're going to be sore all the time, and you're not going to make any progress. But then if you don't go at all, you're going to be fat and not make any progress. So it's about having a healthy moderation whilst maintaining a continuous strive for improvement. That's what's going to build you. Like if you want to smoke weed, fine.
Yeah.
But be disciplined.
Yeah, that's what I am at the moment.
If you don't and you just go completely cold turkey, you might just go fuck, and then you might turn on to harder substances to be able to replace that hit that you got. So you're trying, fucking hell, I'll try crack, I'll try that, I'll try this, or I'll do this instead. I'll smoke this higher thing. But then if you do it all enough, if you do it too much, then it just makes you completely complacent and lazy.
Yeah.
So, but whereas if you was like, look, I don't want to give up, I like it. It's not. It keeps me chilled in the evenings. But you know what? Throughout the day, I don't do it. Just when I'm at night and I'm chilling, I'm about to go to bed, smoke a spliff.
That is when it. Yeah, that's when it thrives, and it can be really good.
Because it helps you sleep. Because CBD, is it CBD?
CBD, yeah.
Is that within
THC.
weed? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But that's what people
THC.
take to sleep. There's a lot of people that can't sleep and they take CBD oil, and it helps with pains or helps to sleep and stuff, and that's good. But again, if you overdose on that, it's too much.
Yeah. But you could never overdose on weed. That is the thing. It's not bad for you. But
that's why it's the problem, because it's a plant. It's not like a superficially created drug. It is a plant. So, and there are health benefits towards it. And that's probably the fact that you can't overdose on it. Like you can't. People can have a heroin abuse, or they can take too much crack or cocaine and go fucking their heart stops. Whereas with weed, you can just do it and do it and do it. So the tolerance, you can set any threshold you do, and the higher you set it, the more you smoke. You become accustomed to that level of smoking, so you just continue upping it, because
and it is addictive. It's
It's
very addictive. I'd wake up in the morning, if I didn't have a zoot, I'd start getting aggressive.
For people that find it hard to stop smoking weed, how did you stop? Like, was it in increments? Like, how did you?
I'm gonna quote XXX Tentacion on this one.
Oh, go on.
Your woman kind of becomes your drug. If I didn't have my girlfriend, it sounds
Is that
bad,
why you
but,
stopped? Is that around the time?
No, it was after, but
Okay.
I didn't need that replace of happiness anymore.
Oh.
So it's like I was
Interesting.
happy with my woman, so why do I need to rely on weed for my happiness?
Because you was already getting that dopamine hit from her and the love you was feeling, as opposed to the hit you was feeling from the
It's
weed.
like when I was with her, it's like I didn't need to smoke. I didn't really need to smoke at all, and I'd stay around hers. I wouldn't take weed, but I'd be fine. Now normally I'd struggle to sleep, but I'm with her. It didn't give my mind time to think. I was distracted, if that makes sense. But then,
but in a good way. It was a positive replacement, as opposed to gateway drug. It was you replace that dopamine with something positive and something that is beneficial to your life, and it's not going to hinder you in any way.
I genuinely was, and it's like, and then a few days in, I've gone like 5 days to a week without weed. I was like, something is going on.
You're thinking, I can live without this now.
Normally I would not survive this long, and then I go, okay, and then I deep it. It's because of happiness, and then I kind of deeped it again. I was like, but I cannot rely on my woman for the happiness. It's got to come from myself.
That's what I'm saying. It can even get a bit more addictive. Love can be addictive. If you have too much love and you put too much time and energy into your woman in your relationship, then you end up getting lost and you getting hurt, and you end up getting, because that's addictive. You need, everything is good within moderation. If you want to smoke a little bit when you deserve it. Do some work, get your shit what you need to do, smoke, enjoy yourself in the evenings. Same with love. Treat a woman good. Spend time with her. Spend too much time with her, then you end up losing yourself. She doesn't respect you. You're just arguing all the time because you're just in each other's hair. But then you don't spend enough time. She doesn't think you care. Then relationship fucks up. So it's everything is good within moderation. I guess it was the most natural replacement, because the reason why you didn't have a purpose is because you were smoking weed, and then when you're not smoking weed, you think, I might as well just smoke weed again.
It's a tough one. I feel like the power of a woman in a relationship is very, very strong.
A power of a woman's love, I'd say.
Yeah, power of a woman's love.
The love a woman can show you is very, very powerful if it's applied in the right way and it's a good woman. especially if you're on the right path and you're in the right direction. Like, as I say, you can't put all your eggs in one basket and expect your woman to make you happy. But at the same time, if you have a good woman and you're on a good path yourself, they're a great supplement to your life to support you emotionally and spiritually, to give you that extra bit of... It almost gives you a reason to do what you want to do. It gives you a reason to be better, a reason to be stronger, because you want to protect and provide for them. You can sit and have these conversations about men can't do this and women can't do this and da-da-da. But not enough people talk about the beauty of not only being in love, but people fall into this fantasy of unconditional love, when I think love is always conditional. Because if you don't meet the conditions that your partner set, then the love is either jeopardized or it's tainted. So as long as those conditions are always there, you're always going to love each other. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because
that makes a lot of sense.
And I feel like that's why we got hurt in before, is because like why we've been hurt in relationships or been heartbroken is because you almost think like unconditional love. Oh, I love her. You're my world and all this shit. You put such power in that person to make you happy that when they fuck up, you forgive them so easily, no matter what they do, even if it's disrespect or they act, or it's a problem, something that you should be checking, and then you allow it to happen because you go, well, it's unconditional. We're forever. I've got to make it work. When if you have certain things, certain boundaries that you're like, if you do these, that's it, you're done. But then these things we can work on, we'll discuss these. And as you said earlier, if you sit and have a healthy dynamic where it's easy to have boundaries and say, you should have boundaries as a man and all this shit. But if you don't sit and communicate and talk about the little mishaps that go wrong, those little problems turn into big problems. Yeah. And then before you know it, you're going, how the fuck did we end up here? And it just all goes tits up. My relationship with my girlfriend now would have been fucked up if we hadn't discussed all these little things that happened in between. If I just let it slide, it was like, no, I don't want to cause an argument. I don't want to annoy her. I don't want to say anything because it might... All that stuff would have built up and it would have caused resentment. And I'd have ended up taking it out on her and lashing out. Or she would have... Or I wouldn't have checked her. And she would have just continued with that behaviour and I'd then ended up resenting her one way or another. Or she would have resented me. One of us would have ended up resenting each other. Either the fact that I allowed her to do too much and disrespect me and I would have resented her for her actions, or she would have resented me for my lack of action and leadership. I've trained boxing, I've been hit in the face, I know how it feels, I can respond to it. Everyone has an idea of how they'll react in a situation, or if he hits me I'll do this, or you have no fucking idea. The first time I ever got hit in the face, your automatic reaction is to like, whoa, like you just start like moving and like you just turn away and try and run away. You don't put your guard up, or they hit you and then you learn to roll with punches, or you learn to like, throw back. You don't do any of that. And that's why I encourage people to get in the fucking gym, mate. And like, do you know what I mean? Get in the fighting gym, learn a bit of boxing, learn whatever. Because you've got to understand as well, those skills aren't necessarily applicable to real life, but what it does is train your baseline reactions to when you're in that situation, to be able to compose yourself and think more logically. And also to just be able to like, I know how to hit someone. I can defend myself if I need to. As opposed to going, I've got it in me, I can fight, I can take on anyone. Someone starts with me, bollocks, but you've never had a fight in your life. Someone just hits you the wrong way, and then you're like, whoa, because you don't know how the fuck it feels to be hit. Yeah. Until you've been hit in the face, you don't know how you're going to react outside in the real world. When you're boxing, it removes that ego. It puts you in better positions to avoid fights and avoid those confrontations, because you think this is not worth it. Or either, I could knock him spark out, and I might kill him. Nah, I'll walk away. Or... he probably could fight, I'll leave it. It's not worth it. Because you just learn about combat and you learn about how those situations, where they can go. Whereas most people that end up in street fights or end up getting knocked out in fights, they don't know what they're doing and they're aggressive and they have an ego and they're trying to prove themselves. And it's only until you've actually been in there, it will not only teach you discipline, it will humble you, but you'll also learn how to defend yourself. I'm not a confrontational person at all. But I know if I need to defend myself, I can, and I will. Walk away from the situations. That's the smartest thing you can do, is walk away. Because what's the best that can happen? You knock him out, get a bit of an ego boost, Yeah. What's the worst? Someone else jumps in, you get curb stomped, punched in the back of the head, stabbed. Someone comes back for revenge. They've got a hit out on you now. You knock him out and kill him. His head hits the concrete. He gets, like, you go to prison.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the fucking... There's no real positives as opposed to, I knocked him out and put him clean. And if there was an option for you to be able to walk away in that situation, that's the smartest thing you can do. You might think, I could have done this, and you could, you control your anger and just fucking then direct it into someone else. Unless you absolutely... But all it is teaching you about to defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think all these people, they get it fucked up. They think boxing's about attack. It's not. It's about a defense. If someone attacks me, I can defend myself. But it's not about going out and attacking people.
Mm-hmm.
I've been misconstrued. I had someone say to me once, it was like, they thought I was an aggressive person because I went to the gym and I boxed. And I was like, no. I'm the complete opposite. The guys that don't go to the gym or don't box, they're the aggressive ones because they can't control their emotions. They've never been hit in the face. Like, if you've been hit in the face and you know how, or even if you've hit people in the face, you know how much power you've got.
Mm-hmm.
It's the guys that have never felt power in their life and they have some sort of ego, and so they use that power on people that they know are weaker than them. Hence, that's why you get people that shoot up schools, or just typically, in the more common sense, guys that abuse women and children and stuff. That's men that have no emotional control, that have never ever been disciplined or humbled to be able to know their power, to know when to use it, and then have more confidence in their right to apply it. But then in this modern world, it's taught the opposite. If you go to the gym, you're aggressive. If you do this, you're a bad person. Be weak and this and this. That's like supposed to save men. And it's like, bro, you don't understand what damage you're doing. That's doing the complete opposite. We've existed for thousands of years with these certain roles being the women are nurturers and men are providers and protect. And now we're trying to conflate it all of a sudden. And people are saying, yeah, well, it might not work. We don't know. It's untested. But that's the danger of it. It's untested. We don't know how the effects are going to go in 30 to 40 years. But we already see the effects in modern culture now and with the Western world because of all the crime rates and the divorce rates and the suicide rates. We see all of that. We see all of it playing out and that's only within the last 10 to 20 years. So imagine 40, 50, 60 years after the next generation. And they're truly indoctrinated because they haven't seen both sides. They haven't seen the switch. Yeah. They've just grown up in that woke world.
I wouldn't even want to know.
I don't want to, but that's why I feel like it's so important to maintain those values and to anything. I put it this way: anything the news or the media or anything tells you not to do that.
Yeah, quite literally. Even then, I feel like they have the influence over the feminism and stuff like that. Get them battling each other so they don't actually figure out what's going on.
Exactly. As I say, every single movement that starts, whether it be feminism, LGBT, Black Lives Matter, they were all started with inherent positive motivations. But the reason why they've got so big and the reason why they're purported so often, put it this way, most people aren't racist, but a lot of people don't agree with Black Lives Matter. Most people aren't homophobic. They don't care if you put a dick in your mouth, but they don't like the LGBT. It's because of the connotations added to it that taints the entire movement. And if you think that all these media companies and the news and everything, do you think they're going to push an agenda so far and they're not going to have their hands in it and they're not going to allow how it's perceived and where it goes and where the end result is? They all these movements, every movement you can think of, feminism, LGBT, Black Lives Matter, they were all movements started with positive intentions. But when they realised it's getting a lot of traction, then it's when the media companies and the people that control the information you see in here get their hands in it. And that's where they begin to taint it for more control and for more money, and ultimately to divide and conquer, to keep us fighting with each other and to keep them running off of all the fucking money, and so that we don't realise what they're doing. Anytime people talk to me about, oh yeah, but it's men against this or it's gays against it, no it's not. No it's not at all. It's poor against rich. That's what it is. That's what it's always been, and it's never going to change. And of course, there are a lot of people are now waking up to the realities of the world and how things are operated. That's why people like Andrew Tate were so outcast.
And did you see the thing where it was all of the news? Every single media casting all read the same script.
Yeah, they all had the same, literally.
Yeah. Every
150 news articles from all different countries in the world at the same time put out the same stories. This is what people get so misconstrued over. It's not Andrew Tate. Whether you like him or not, that's not the point. If Andrew Tate didn't exist, they'd fucking hate on someone else. There'd be someone else. There's just someone that they can pinpoint and have this hatred towards. And as I say, if you looked at Andrew Tate through the scope of the media, he was the worst human being that's ever existed.
It's because he's dangerous.
On par with Hitler, apparently. Some people think he is.
Yeah,
there's someone on the planet right now that thinks Andrew Tate is as bad as Hitler.
Well, it's fine. He got banned on everything, and there was still like the Taliban that have killed thousands of people that actually killed.
They're on Twitter still.
They're all terrorists. Yeah, they were all
and there's still people on Instagram that have committed actual fucking crimes and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah,
but again, the reason why is because they're just criminals and they are under contract.
It's because he was waking people up.
That's all he was doing.
His views were waking people up to see how the world's actually run.
But it was a lot of what he was saying about waking people up and taking accountability and don't do this and don't act like this. If you're a man, you've got to be like this. Don't be depressed. That's not real. It was all these things. You're taken away from pharmaceutical companies, from antidepressants, selling them. You're taken away from all these feministic ideologies and everything because you're saying to men to be better. You're putting traditional values to work to be stronger. All he's doing, everything he's doing, realistically, is just lowering the crime rate, making stronger, better men, better, more traditional, respectful women. He's trying to essentially bring back the family unit, and they don't want the family unit. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done all the things they've done to try and ruin it in the past 40 to 50 years anyway. Yeah, this is the thing, if he dies, he's got like Tristan and other people that are really close to him that surely they would speak. They would. There's no way if he randomly died and it was some mistake, unless he actually died from something, because obviously he repeatedly says on every podcast now, I'll never kill myself.
He was like, because I feel like people,
but then I think that's like, they wouldn't take that approach. No one's going to believe the suicide thing, so they'd kill him in a car crash or something like that. But I think even then, if it's dodgy or they do assassinate him, he's got such a huge team of people around him, and Tristan especially, do you think he's not going to speak out and say, no, this was a hit piece, this and this? Or they take both of them out at the same time? You don't know.
Yeah.
But I think if he dies, it would definitely start some sort of like revolution. Because again, this is what I'm saying. Them cancelling him did nothing but expose them even further.
Yeah.
Because you can kill him, but you can't kill his ideas. And his ideas are already in millions and millions of people across the planet. So you could kill him. So then not only does that not kill the idea, because there's still millions of people that have his ideas, but also you're just going to wake up even more people, because they're going to go, wait, he was telling the truth, because they've just murdered him. He must have been saying something, right? It's the same with everyone. Look at all the people in history that have said, let's stand together, it's us against them, we should be peaceful. John Lennon, Martin Luther King, you know, all these people, John F. Kennedy, that didn't want to go into the Vietnam War, wanted peace. And again, they wanted to go in there for money. What happened? Boom.
Yeah.
John Lennon, let's have peace around the world. No one should fight anymore. Boom. Malcolm X, he was standing up for black rights and saying we should all be, you know, humans and we all stick together. And again, promoting peace and religion. What happens? Boom. They've all been shot in the head. Everyone that ever promotes peace or people to be better, they all die. And again, all that ever does is just is light the fire under the people's stomachs that already knew that what they was doing. They was already on their side, but then it just wakes up even more people.
Can you imagine, if there was actually peace everywhere? What would life be like?
I mean, it'd be horrible, because you need controversy and you need bad things in the world for the good things to be able to thrive and people to learn lessons and people to know what not to do. But it wouldn't help the government at all. They wouldn't be able to make money. They wouldn't be able to force agendas. They wouldn't have any control over the world. Everyone would be equal. They'd overthrow the government. They'd revolute. The upper powers would have no power and no influence. But the only reason they have that is because they can control what most people think.
Just everything in general, like schools, universities, they're all a business.
Even fucking schools are against. Bro, I remember, like, I work in a school. I work as a cleaner, but there was just for cleaning staff, teachers, it was just everyone, all the staff that was in the school. And they had a whole presentation up. And they started talking about, there is a guy on the internet called Andrew Tate. You might have been familiar with him. He spreads a lot of hateful and terrorist-like ideas, And basically, they had this whole thing. And like, you're not allowed to talk about him in school or share his ideas or anything. You can be removed from the school and banned and like ostracized and taken out the classroom and given penalties. And like, you can be actually getting genuine trouble if you mention Andrew Tate or talk about his ideas or anything or support him.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. I've had my headphones on listening to his podcast at work, and because you can hear it, and I've seen people walk past me, teachers, and I know that they hear what I'm listening to, and they just look at me with disgust, and I'm thinking, first off, this is just a temporary job I'm trying to fulfill until I get where I need to be. Me listening to Andrew Tate doesn't affect my job. What the fuck are you sitting there judging me like it's your problem? This is why you're a fucking teacher. This is why you're sat here judging me, because you're a fucking mindless cunt. Like,
it's
bruv.
distraction, man. It's all a distraction. It makes no fucking sense. Do you reckon that was higher up going, okay,
Without a
you
doubt.
have to make it?
There wasn't there was teachers to a degree are in the matrix, I guess you could say. But
No, the teachers are the matrix, basically.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. They're the ones reporting to kids and bringing them up and giving them all these ideals and what's the curriculum is, what you should teach and what you shouldn't, and what's allowed and what's not.
Because the government owns schools. So schools are the government's business. This is why they're always like, oh, schools never taught us money. Schools never taught us this. They never taught us how to pay taxes. They done that for a reason. They know what they're doing. The schools are their business. Why would they teach you about money if, in fact, they want to make money off you?
And also, if they knew how to make money, if the teachers knew how to make money, there wouldn't be a fucking teacher.
Mm-hmm. And literally, they get paid per student they have.
That's why they're so concerned about attendance.
Exactly.
I didn't even know that, but that's why they're so concerned about attendance.
And genuinely,
they don't give a fuck if you turn up to the lesson. They want their paycheck.
Yeah. And how do you think they get that money? Through the taxes. Cool. Literally, like even university, the way
As the government go, the more people are in school, we give you more money. So make sure the attendance is good or more people are in lessons. If you report this, then we'll give you a pay rise. It's all to keep you more in check and more in line, not question anything. Learn, listen, obedience completely, and just sit there and listen to all these fucking ideas and ideologies that are forced down your throat. Learn about shit and just fill your mind with all this academic bullshit that's not going to help you. Go into university, get in debt, and live the rest of your life as a fucking dickhead paying it off in a shit job.
Just deep this, University is one of the biggest businesses out there because as a business itself, they are providing a service of free education. Well, it is not free, but, they're getting it for free. It's just knowledge that's already around. Again, student loans. It's the government's money. They're just print out this money. Here you go, here's a student loan.
You can only use it for your university and you've got to pay us back.
And it's just a constant cycle. They're like, right, now you have to pay us back this much. You can pay our teachers. You can pay our teachers' wages. When they say your taxes goes back into schools, that's their business in the first place.
And then they use the illusion of we're helping the community and the taxes go towards all these services in the schools and the hospitals and everything. But really, taxes are just to cover up all the bullshit that they do and to make them more money and have more control over the people. That's all it is.
And then the actual staff that working for the NHS are working.
Taxation hasn't always taxation hasn't always existed anyway. It came into the idea. I can't remember why. But it was a long time ago. I can't remember when. But it hasn't... When the fuck... Hold up real quick. When did tax in the US start? Tax in America started in 1861.
Slavery ended in 1863.
Jesus Christ.
Drop the mic.
I think we've just figured out. So the reason...
That is mad.
We've just come up, bro. The reason why... So they had slavery. Slavery was what was making them their money and to keep power over the population, or a large percentage of the populace anyway.
And then they must have, I don't know, it must have been a race thing. They must have gone, okay.
But it wasn't just a race thing, because I watched something the other day in America. I know a lot of the slaves were black, but there was also a lot of slaves that were white. And there was a lot of slave masters that were black.
Yeah.
And they used race to purport this divide and like whites and blacks. But as a matter of fact, it's just the rich versus the fucking poor, and it's always been that way. And now looking at that, tax started in America in 1961 and slavery ended in 1863. If you don't think those two things have a link, how would that have a link?
Because they had to have that 2-year transition of
their tax was the slaves. Their tax was slave forces, and then when slavery got overturned and it was illegal, they thought we have to make a way to make money and still have power over the population. Taxes.
And you're paying the government tax, right, off of your wages that you've worked, you've earned, and then they tell you, oh, we're putting it back into schools, we're putting it into the NHS, blah blah. When the government have spent money on building that stuff, that's the government's money.
And they print the money so they can choose the currency and they can inflate it to what they want. And then they can choose the dollar, and it's just ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
And because they can print as much money as they want, that's why they have to inflate the currency to keep up the narrative of that, money's valuable and all this when it's not. I'd love to carry on this conversation, but we have to go. Follow the TikTok, follow Tyler's socials, follow mine, subscribe, turn the notifications on, and we will see you in the next video.
Peace.